Uh, yeah, you're probably wondering, hey, tour guide, what are you doing going live on Thursday? That's a good question. Because normally we go live on Fridays. But tomorrow, I don't know if I'm going to have necessarily time to go live. We've got a Halloween event. My son goes trick or treating in the community, so I'm just anticipating us kind of completing that, um, kind of past his bedtime, and there's like baseball going on tomorrow and all that. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to necessarily go live tomorrow. So in anticipation of possibly missing our live stream tomorrow night, I just thought I'd go on tonight. And then if I do have bandwidth to do something tomorrow night, we'll do something different, and we'll see where that goes. But we're continuing on with the Summer of Superman pickups. And I've kind of emptied out the top two drawers of my filing cabinet. And these are sort of books I keep that are more of my favorites, kind of like, I guess, the higher value books, or just the books I would consider uh, higher tier in my personal collection ranking of books. So these are some of the more either either they retain a book value, or they retain sentimental kind of value, or both, right? But these ones tend to be, not that they're better grade or anything, but they tend to be uh, the more coveted books in my collection. So we're kind of working our way up. So these are very coveted. In fact, some of these qualify as some of uh, my favorite books in the collection. What's up, Arvin? Yisla, what's up, dudes? Thanks for hanging out. Gary Z, up in the collection, up in the house. And yeah, so we'll just get started. And again, these are all pickups from the summer. They're all Superman related. And got some really cool books. Now, I just want to give a quick shout out to Bronze Age Babe. Um, just when I think like, oh yeah, I have, you know, there's not a lot out there that I don't want. And this is actually a thing that I have to examine more closely. Uh, I think I have somewhat of a hoarder's. I don't even want to say hoarders, but I do have this sort of endless well of things I want. in particular, uh, specific to comic books and comic book collecting. Um, Generally, I if something comes across my radar and I want it, I try to categorically define my collection and try to fill the holes in the void. So, for example, this summer was largely focused on Action Comics, Superman, Superman related books. And even though that's kind of always been my focus, I think with the release of the movie this year, uh, it kind of reinforced uh, my love for not only the character and the comic books themselves, but and also prioritized the fact that, um, I've been kind of picking up a lot of stuff, and, given the limited amount of space that I have, I really need to kind of, you know, uh, refocus my energies on picking more of this Superman stuff up. And again, Bronze Age Babe, she put another book on my radar, a book that I hadn't even known existed. And now that I know about it, I have to have it. It's a Bronze Age Lois Lane book. And if you go and watch her short right now, you'll see the book that she's promoting. Beautiful book, and again, not a big pricey book, but it's exactly in the wheelhouse of what I love and what I want to collect. So yeah, shout out to Bronze Age Babe. Uh, Gary Z saying the only collection I have is Akira Nakamori songs. Okay, Akina Nakamori songs. I'm assuming she's some kind of idol star in Japan. Not too familiar with Akina Nakamori. We've got Arvin giving thumbs up and saying, what? I don't know what you're talking about, Gary. That's all good. All right, so we're going to get to the books. Now, again, these are some of the most endearing books in my collection. Not necessarily the high-priced books, but just some of my favorite. And we'll start getting into them. Now, last year around this time, I went to Rochester, New York on a trip, and I ended up picking up this book right around the announcement that crypto would be, I think it was like right around the trailer or something. They had made an announcement that crypto was going to be, part of the film, but no one had a clue of what that meant, right? Or how big of a, how big of a role he would play in the movie. And then I got this book just because I love the cover and thought, looks like they're going to do something with crypto. And we picked this up for $2 at the time. And then they released like a teaser or a trailer or something, and this book spiked. This book just went up through the roof. So, the $2 purchase of this book paid off dividends. So, again, I picked it up last year, and what we're talking about is Superman 680, the Alex Ross cover for the crypto book. Now, that was last year. This summer, we ended up going to Jeff's, and Jeff, of course, has, the back issue bins, and I found another copy. Jeff was selling it for like half of what this book, I think it was priced at $3. And so we got it for $1.50. And, I was just kind of like, I kind of wanted to tell him, hey, this is like a big book now, but I also wanted the book and didn't want, to make him feel bad or anything. So I just, again, Jeff's on top of his prices. He's not one of those guys who reprice at the counter, and, if he puts out a book and you get it, and the price goes up or something and he hasn't updated it, then it's on him. He even says that. He tells his customers, hey, look, if you find something and it's worth more, that's on me. I'm not going to reprice or do anything. That's why we love Jeff. That's why we love Ancient Comics. He's more about giving the customer a good experience at his shop, which makes him, his business, I think, will be successful. His customers keep coming back, and they keep buying books from him. present company included. So we picked up a copy of this for $1.50, and we just felt like I just felt bad because I was like, man, Jeff, you got to keep up with your prices and all. But he has apparently a whole stash of these because I went back there several weeks later and he had another copy in there, exact same price. So we picked up two mint copies this summer, $1.50 each, so $3 for essentially like $40 books now. These are, again, if I get them graded and they came back 9/8, these would be in the hundreds. And again, these could qualify for 9/8 easily. This one kind of needs a little bit more of a clean, but this one here is just spotless. So again, just really nice pickups on a book I don't mind having multiple copies of, just because I think moving forward, you got Alex Ross, you got Crypto. I mean, these books will always be, I think, in demand just because, yeah, you got two beloved things being featured there: Crypto on the cover and Alex Ross art. So that's a good combination to have. All right, let's keep it going. We'll keep it moving, I should say. Just want to make sure I have like a good place to put my books here as we go through them. All right, moving right along. We got this beautiful Ross Andrews Supergirl cover. The gun looks kind of like a penis. I don't know if that's if that was intentional or what. There's no escape, Superman. I'm shrinking, right? Shrinking you down to nothing. Great Krypton. Supergirl's gone power mad. And again, the gun looks kind of like a penis, I guess, which is weird. But Ross Andrew goodness. And this is one of the, I mean, there's a lot of books now. I didn't realize Todd McFarlane was just this sort of like kid that wrote into DC Comics all the time and got his letters published. But yeah, that's exactly what Todd McFarlane did. Todd McFarlane was writing in and just hounding the editors on Superman titles and different titles. So this is one of the, I don't want to say few, one of the many comics where you see Todd McFarlane, a young McFarlane, engaging with the fan mail, and his letter is published here. So there you go. We've got Action Comics. I think I got two comics in here. Is that Smallville? What's going on here? Yeah, I think this is one. Alright, so we picked up a copy of this book, which we'll get to. But I want to feature this book. I think this is a book I picked up this summer. I may be wrong. No, I'm pretty sure I picked it up this summer. We have Action 349, The Face of Fear. And it's this mummy kind of unraveling himself. And Superman is just like, dude, keep your bandages on. I don't want to see your face. Being very frightened. We've also got these two great comics. These I picked up. I think I picked up both of these for $1 at Jeff's. And this Super Family book, again with the press, it's a high grade book. It shouldn't have been sitting in the dollar bin. This one is key because it presents the wedding of Selena and Bruce back during the Bronze Age as sort of an Elseworlds type type uh, event. Beautiful Ross Andrew art here as well. No, this is Jose Luis Garcia Lopez art. Mm-hmm. Beautiful nonetheless. We've got Jose Luis Garcia Lopez art here on DC Comics Presents #1. Real classic book here. Superman Flash cover. Those are always fun. We also have this one I picked up for 25 cents. I don't mind picking up this in the quarter bin. Anytime you're going to put like Crisis on Infinite Earths, I know there's a lot of copies out there, but anytime you can pick it up for a quarter to $1, as long as it's in a presentable grade, you got to do that. That is just, I mean, that is George Perez goodness right there. Oh, man, you just cannot do better a better cover than that. You just can't. I mean, I guess you can, but you know, like, it's hard to. It's as good as it gets there. Here's another example of as good as it gets. We got Neil Adams on Superman 308. Beautiful book there. Oof. What's up, Jorge Kies? Thank you, Big Pimpin'. Hopefully you're enjoying these books. This one is in probably a fine plus condition. Some minute corner creases here, break color, a couple spine ticks. All in all, yeah, probably closer to fine. Fine minus. This one is very high grade. Put this at a 9.0, and that is this beautiful Ernie Chan cover. Ernie Chan on Superman 299. Superman's Rogue Villain cover. Rogues Gallery cover. Got all the... Even got the redesigned Toyman there from the cartoons. Brainiac Lex. Metallo. All the good ones. That was a book that yeah, that was just a book that I picked up just because of the grade. Normally, you know, like I would be patient on a book like that. It doesn't have to be in high grade. But that one for some reason I was just like, man, because of the grade, I just feel like it's gonna be. I kind of wanted that one because it was in high grade. I just sometimes you run into books like that. You just want them because it's just a nice graded book. It's a nice grade for a reasonable price as well. It was fairly reasonable. I think I picked it up for like $10 or something like that. Fairly reasonable. We've got some Infinite Crisis books here. These are sketch covers by Jim Lee, one of my favorite artists of all time. We've got Superboy Prime as well. against Superboy. That's cool. And then we've got, this was a cool book because what did we pick this up for? I think we picked this up for like $3. I mean, it's got grading issues. It's probably like a 3.0 in terms of grade, maybe even a 2.5, but it's still a beautiful book, which is Lois Lane 85. And this is a Neil Adams cover. It's just, again, I've kind of always wanted this book, but we wanted to get the book at a good price, decent grade, and I kind of got the, again, I think we paid $3 for this, somewhere around there. And in this grade, it's more than good enough to be in my collection. Again, put this around a 2.530 in terms of the grade. DG minus around there. Beautiful, beautiful book though. Again, some Lois kind of threatening Superman with a kryptonite boulder, unless they start planning the wedding. I gotta start planning the wedding. All right, we're kind of moving into, so I'm kind of showing off a lot of books. That is one of my favorite books there. But with the Lois book, we're gonna kind of get into more of my favorite books. So this is like I mentioned, we picked up 2 copies. Actually, we didn't pick it up. This was gifted to us by my buddy Josh, aka Green Lantern Comics, or G Lantern Comics. And do you read these? That's a great question. No. When I get books now, not to say I'm a grade snob. For me, it's not really about the grade. It's about having the book, and for the book to be presentable. And even if it's not presentable, it's, for me, like, as long as the book has like potential to be improved, or just, it's not abused. As long as the book isn't abused, we will welcome it into the collection. And no, I don't read these books because reading the books, there's a potential to damage the books. There's a potential to, unless you're careful, you just don't want to handle the books, if at all possible. Now, to clean and make it maybe make improvements on the books, yeah, that's when I'll take them out and kind of handle them and work with them. But for the most part, I don't want to touch the books, if at all possible. And I'm not really curious about the story. If I was really curious about the story, I would just try to find a digital copy, or a collected edition or something where I could read it. And yeah, I do at some point maybe want to go through and read all of the books, but I have to be at a point in my life where I have kind of bandwidth to do that, meaning more time to do that. And so it's not a lack of wanting to read the books. It's just kind of like I'm collecting right now. At some point, I'll sit down and read a lot of the books. So I hope that answers your question. Yeah, no, I don't read these books. I probably should, but for me, it's not really necessarily about reading, but more about collecting. And there was a period in my early collecting days when I was picking up the books and reading them and then putting them away in my collection. This was when I was first starting out as a collector. And back then, yeah, reading comics was fun. Um, you know, it was sort of a portal and escape to a new, you know, kind of adventure, meeting characters. When you're young, you just love reading stories and stuff like that. So definitely something I enjoyed more in my youth. But now, like, I'm older, I'm really coming back to comic books. It's not necessarily about reading the comic books anymore. It's just about kind of collecting and having them as kind of art pieces for me. So there you go. Yeah, marry me or else, Lois. Uh, I read comics a lot as a kid. Now that I'm older, yeah, yeah, right. Exactly, Ron. Ron just took the words out of my mouth. Um, as a kid, I definitely there were titles I read like Uncanny X-Men, Spider ASM, and this was back during when Mark Silvestri was on X-Men. It was back when the Wolverine title had just come out. I mean, this was when I was like actively reading comic books. I remember when Dark Knight Returns came out in that miniseries format. That's another book I had in my collection um, that I read. So Frank Miller. I was reading. What else was I reading? Um, X-Men was pretty much the title, I think, because there was just so much going on in X-Men during that period. Um, that was the main one that I just consistently read. Obviously, we read Daredevil throughout that period as well. Spider-Man. I didn't read. I mean, I read a lot of DC only because of Batman. Batman was big around that period, but not so much for the other characters. Like, we didn't read much Superman outside of you know John Burns, Man of Steel. We read that. We read um, GI Joe comics. That was a big one, and things like that. So yeah, I mean, we did a lot of reading of comics, and then Image came along, and we jumped into Image books, Spawn, Wildcats, all that, and of course more DC. The Death of Superman. Um, More, Bane was introduced to the Nightfall series. Over in Spider-Man, of course, we had the Spider Clone series going on. X-Men continued to be just, like, what do we have? We had Age of Apocalypse. We had Onslaught. Uh, we had the, you know, Cable was a big part. So we had X-Force, Cable. Uh, you know, I'm just kind of like, um, I'm being nostalgic about that period, but I'm also just trying to remember, like, okay, that was part of, I remember reading that, or kind of remember collecting this and that. Wizard magazine was big, of course, back then. Um, you know, Definitely post image, or I should say post image, but definitely around the time the uh, image came along, Wizard played, I think, a big part in just promoting the comic book industry at that point, and it had just grown. And there's a lot of speculation in terms of pricing and people just getting the books to collect without realizing, hey, you know what? There's not a lot of collectability or in terms of scarcity type collections. It was just, a new thing. It was like fun to read and fun to kind of budget books that you would pick up. Um, So yeah, it was just a lot of um, fun books, as it is now. I see the similarities between when I was collecting and what people are collecting today. Obviously, you're just buying stuff that's cool with all the covers, but the comic books themselves are still really fun to read and collect. And um, I would say the art and the stories in a lot of the DC books that are coming out right now, again, uh, rival the quality of any period. I mean, it's just like top notch stuff coming out right now. So it's nice to see it now. I'm not collecting any of the new stuff, but I could see how, like, if I was a kid and I was getting into these books, how it could sustain my interest and keep me wanting to, again, buy the cool covers, buy the ratio variants, and just do all the things that um, collectors do. But for me, it's more about the back issues and all that. So cool. Our army at war with Sergeant Rock. Yes. um, Sergeant Rock. I did not read that, but I definitely want to, I think, collect more Sergeant Rock because, yeah, uh, I'm falling in love with Joe Kubert, if that's a thing. Um, yeah, Joe Kubert's incredible. All right, anyway, get back to what we're showing off here. We got some Superman. We got Superman uh, I can't see this right now. 186. I got two copies of this again from Josh, who gifted me the books. He just had some overflow books, and he just gifted me a bunch of like Silver Age Superman and other Superman related books, DC books. And again, there was two copies of this. It's just a fun kind of cover here. We have ghosts. We have a Clark Kent and a Superman ghost kind of arguing over who's the real Superman or Clark Kent. And they're both kind of like, no, I'm the real ghost. Come on. Um, that's funny. And then we have this. So, again, last year we went to Rochester. We picked up a really high grade version of this. We also picked up sort of a more mid grade version of it as well. This is one where I think if we were to press and clean it, we could get it to a really nice looking or nice graded book. In fact, I'm very excited about what the potential of this book could be. And so I think this is going to be among my submissions to Roger. And now that we're talking about Roger, I want to give Roger a shout out. He is doing a giveaway. So please, if you're watching this video, there are two things I want you to do. Go to his channel. It's at Metarog, Metarog, and go follow him or subscribe to him, I should say, and find the video of his giveaway and put the comment and the hashtag Raj, ROGTO2 2000. Raj to 2000. Hashtag Raj 2000. Make a comment, but also let him know that I referred you to his giveaway and just comment, hey, Otaku sent me. Uh, I'm subscribed. I'm entering the giveaway. And that referral will get me an additional entry. So if all of you can do that, not only are you going to follow one of the best uh, comic book community members on YouTube, you're going to support his channel and my channel. And again, we've got some collaboration stuff that we do that should be coming up soon. I'm going to try to schedule some time with him. And again, this is a book I think that's primed for uh, him working on it. But that is Superman 180. So this is our second copy. It's our kind of our more reader's copy or weathered copy, but it still looks fantastic. And it's the girl who was mightier than Superman, which is like, again, a must-have if you're a Superman collector. This is just one of the more fun books that you can um, kind of define as what Superman's in the Silver Age was. But you have this girl just, you know, besting Superman with her strength, and he's, uh, you know, it's kind of like losing a bet, and now he has to he has to marry her, which wouldn't be all that bad. I mean, look at her; she looks good in that like Hawaii, like she's again this planet of like Hawaiian or I don't know native. Uh, it's just a weird setting. It's like these beautiful girls in these like floral print mini skirt dresses with the entire kind of like you know like kind of like bathing suit type deals, but yeah, it's he's on some foreign world here, and I don't know, Superman. Superman got bested, and he looks like he's not too disappointed. All right, moving right along, we've got another Silver Age book. This is World's Finest, an amazing adventure in Candor. So they're in the bottled city of Candor without powers, or Superman's not without powers. And now you've got Batman and Superman fighting as if they were humans. And of course, Batman would win this fight. If Superman's just a mortal man, he's not going to outbattle the strength and fighting prowess of Bruce Wayne. So that's a cool cover there. This one's in beat up shape, probably a 3.35. This one's really good shape. It has a subscription crease right down the middle, but outside of that, pretty high grade. I'd put this at like a 7, maybe a 6.5. Again, subscription crease aside, it's a really good looking book. But we've got Superboy 113, and just a fun Superboy cover. Gotta love stuff like that. Case in point, this is a classic age of the Superman books. You got the Silver Age Superman from 188, and it's pretty hilarious. It's a school of Superman assassins, and they're just practicing against the Superman robot, who's chiding them. Idiots, you get 0 on this exam. If you can't even kill me, an android duplicate of Superman, you'll flunk this course. And these guys are just using everything everything in their little in their library of weapons. I guess they've got this like battering ram and a spike ball and chain, and a gun or a bazooka of some kind. They're just going all out and not doing much damage there. All right, getting more into now some of our favorites books. I think anytime you can capture the relationships of these characters, I was kind of mentioning the Crypto cover. What makes the Crypto cover fun is because we know Crypto in the comic books, and he's always kind of been this silly pet dog, and he's not really associated with any particular breed. He's just this white dog with a cape that flies around. Kind of comes off across as like a greyhound or something, but then you see that cover, Alex Ross makes him like this little buff little dog, and you see, oh, he's some kind of pit bull kind of He has a little pit bull in him, maybe a little terrier in him, but he's this sort of like realistic looking uh, breed of a pit bull, and just adds life to him. So, and obviously Crypto's a beloved character in this Superman universe. And I think that's why Superman is sets himself apart from like other superheroes, is because you look at most superhero characters and they're really defined by their villains, um, or they're defined by some kind of like tragedy, or they're defined by like other superhero characters, right? Like a family of superhero characters. Um, but Superman's kind of different in the sense that he's got this family of characters across multiple titles, and um, you know, it those relationships are don't change over time. They are just like it's like a running, um, it's like a running familiarity with the relationship, and uh, how those characters interact with each other. And Jimmy Olsen is a great example of a character who started out as just kind of like, uh, the office, the office intern or newbie, kind of taking pictures and all that. And, he becomes this endearing character among young readers as like Superman's buddy. And that plays into this title here. And here it's just this great uh, exchange between Linda Danvers of Supergirl's alter or secret identity, or her public identity, right? And Jimmy Olsen there. So that's fun. And this one's probably, I would say, 4.0 copy there. Another copy in the 4.045 range. I think this would be good, except it's got rusty staples, which would, I think, drop it a bit. So maybe 3.5 range. Not a lot of creasing. But man, just a beautiful Neil Adams cover here. Superman 205. I mean, this is a period where Neil Adams really did a run. I think it's from 204 through like, I'll say 220. Just does all the covers on this. And then he does sporadic covers, but he does like a real consistent cover run on Superman during this period. And boy, it's beautiful. And this is 205. Kind of see the rage in Superman, his body language and all that. That's just good stuff right there. Neil Adams goodness. More Neil Adams goodness. This is World's Finest. Again, he also does a kind of a World's Finest run around this period as well. Probably even a longer run on World's Finest, or as well, about the same. And so he's a busy. Neil Adams was a busy man, but this is just kind of this motif where Superman, Batman are fighting. They're oftentimes friends on the covers, but here's an instance where they're at each other. I actually showed you one where they're battling in Kandor earlier. So every now and then you get this kind of battling cover. They're either the best of friends or the best of enemies. All right, now we're getting into these books. I kind of partitioned off as, um, I was kind of getting into why Superman books are so special, and I think these will kind of highlight those reasons, at least for me as a collector of Superman, because I think it is ultimately whatever you decide to read and in your like however you identify with the story or the characters. Hopefully, it has a deep meaning why you bond with a specific superhero or uh, you know, a specific run of comic books, let's say. And it's different for everybody because everybody uh, gravitates toward a specific character or book or run. But however you're introduced to whatever your love, your first love in comic books is, hope it is very special and deep for you, has a lot of meaning, is personal, and again, these stories all touch us in one way or another. So um, whatever that is for you, I hope it just holds a lot of um, sentimental value as to why you collect and love the character. And with that being said, I know I just kind of reiterate this time in and time out, but for me, it was really the Christopher Reeve movie that endeared his performance, that movie, that cinematic experience as a kid when I watched it on the big screen. That's what just, uh, you know, enamored the character, where I became enamored with the story of Superman. Um, and that concept of the hero, right? The Superman concept of the hero, um, and that's only gotten stronger because it's just the character hasn't changed. The essence of the character hasn't changed, and it never will. I think the arbiters of the people who get to tell the story of Superman understand the responsibility of carrying on that legacy and bringing it to a new generation. James Gunn is now among those uh, who have the privilege of telling this what's becoming sort of a modern day, um, you know, hero legend, right? Our modern day, uh, Greek uh, Greek stories, and yeah. So with that being said, I just want to highlight these pickups, and I've just kind of placed these ones aside as like my favorites. Now we still have more books to get to. These are the ones that I are behind me, kind of encased in the mylar and the um, the plastic cases. But for now, these are also a lot of my sentimental favorites. Now, this one is a Golden Age book. This was published in 1953, and it's Superman 84. Now, it's a coverless book. It is falling apart at the edges. It has tears on the pages, back big spots of the back are missing, but it's a Golden Age Superman book. And if you're fortunate to have a book like this in really good condition, it's going to be a high valued book. And but either way, like there are just limited numbers of this era of books. Probably not, probably 1953 is a safer bet that there are more copies than things from the 40s during the war period. But either way, like, you know, for something to have survived, what, now we're 53, 2023, we're talking about like almost a 70-year span of um, a book having to survive, right? Um, that's a really incredible. I mean, even though people do take very good care of these books now, and they, you know, there's value there, and so you're getting collectors who highly prize these, and um, obviously there are a lot of copies out there, but I think the Golden Age Superman books in particular um, hold a special place. And again, you're not going to find, you're not going to find the kinds of let's just put it this way, like Golden Age Superman books are going to have a relative amount of scarcity to them just because of the era, just because of the um, even though it was a popular book, the fact that these books were read and loved by kids, and kind of, you know, a lot of them were thrown out or recycled and all that. So for that to have survived 70 plus years is the reason why, again, for me, when I saw this book, I was just like, I think I got this for what, like $3 or something like that, $2 or $3. I was like, no, for $3, yeah, Golden Age Superman, don't care what condition it's in, we are bringing it home. And what we have here is um, the artist on this book, I believe, is Al Plastino, or who's the artist on this one? I think it's trying to remember the name now. I think it is I'm forgetting the name. Any Golden Age guys in the house? I know the name. I'm not. It's not coming to me right now. All right, it'll come to me as because it always comes to me at a later point. Um, but yeah, we have this beautiful Golden Age book, and only the first page. Oh yeah, it's Superman 84. So yeah, it's double digit Superman from September, October of 1953. And we have a cover here, forgetting the artist, but again, just a beautiful kind of opening page, this story. This is one where apparently Superman goes back in time, changes the details of history, and one where he's no longer Clark Kent, and he no longer has this relationship of with Lois Lane. They're just complete strangers, but there's just something lingering because apparently there's some residual, like, hey, there was a previous timeline, and now kind of have a sense that I know this Clark character and all that. So that's kind of being presented here, Superman's other life as a DJ rather than a reporter. But just gives you a great sense of the period here. She's reading a paper to get all the kind of the news and information of the day. um, from a local paper. You got the buildings in the background. You got this beautiful, just Lois was a fashionista for sure. Get her looking all stylish and yeah. Great. Yeah, this is Wayne Boring. Thank you. This is a Wayne Boring interior story. That's who you are seeing here. I believe it's Wayne Boring on the art here. Thanks for that, Ron. Um, yeah, it's either Wayne Boring or it is like a um, who is it? Win Mortimer. This is either Win Mortimer art or Wayne Boring. I don't. Yeah, it might be Win Mortimer. Anyway, I'll look it up. It's bugging me now. It's not Al Plastic. It's not Al Plastino because I think Al Plastino is on the other stories of the book. This first part of the book, I believe it's Win Mortimer, if I'm not mistaken. All right, but thank you for that. That is, yeah. Those are the those are the artists there. Yeah, I don't think it's Stan K. We'll see. Um, Another thing that gets introduced rather early on in the golden, well, I shouldn't say early on, but kind of in the golden age is around the 50s, I should say, is the introduction of Superboy and Superboy's first love, and that's Lana Lang. And Lana Lang and Lois Lane aren't necessarily kind of on the same timeline, right? Because you have the Superboy timeline and Lana's the love of his life, and then you have the adult Superman timeline where Lois is the focus, and so you have these sort of two um, love interests, one for the younger Clark and one for the adult Clark, and ever so often you have the two on the same plane of existence. And a lot of it is more toward like Action Comics and Superman, but occasionally you do uh, get this relationship examined in the Lois Lane titles and in the Superboy titles. And I love anytime we have the this triangle of whether it's Superman, Lois, and Wonder Woman, or Superman, Lois, and Lana, or Superman, Lois, and some other, you know, um, female character that has um, Superman in her sights. It's always a fun kind of love triangle type story. And you see a lot of this is like one of the, I guess, cool motifs of this title. The ongoing, like, love triangle, some kind of love, you know, it, uh, interest of Superman. Um, because I think that's what makes him extra cool, right? It's like he's not only a hero, but he's a ladies' guy. The ladies like him, kind of thing. And so we've got Lana Lang's Trap for Lois Lane. That was just a long-winded way of showing this really cool 10-cent cover book. And I think I paid. I want to say I paid like somewhere around $7 for this. Now it has a split spine here at the top. Uh, it's got a lot of wear at the staples. The staples look very stressed. Again, spine split. But outside of that, the back looks really good. The back looks fantastic. And the front, yeah, not so bad. No real major creasing or anything. Um, Actually, I think they pressed it really well. Don't You see a lot of little breaks here and there, but for the most part, it looks really clean. So, yeah, give you a good look at it here. Superboy, what is this? 90? Lana Lang's Trap for Lois Lane. She's looking into the future of 1960, and she doesn't like what she sees. Lana's scheming. Lana's scheming, and we always we always love the little love triangle battles. Now this one, uh, when I set out on the Summer of Superman, I let you know this was on my radar. I wanted to pick this up, and this is a book that's just I've run into it many a time, and I said, you know what, I want to get it at a specific price, and I want it in a specific grade because if I pick up this book, I don't want it to be at least mid grade, nothing low grade. And I wanted it also to be um, a reasonable price. So I think there were opportunities to pick up like a mid grade book for like $7 or so. And I just was like, no, that's too much. Um, but this is a high grade. And I believe we paid some like $5 for this one, $4 or $5 for this one. And yeah, I had to have it. And this is Action Comics 454. This is a uh, this is a I believe this is an Ernie Chan cover as well. Yeah, it's either Ernie Chan or I think it's Ernie Chan. I would say it's either Ernie Chan or yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Ernie Chan. Um, but we'll have to look it up too. It is the infamous kind of McDonald's cover, I guess. It's like it's got golden arches, but it's like uh, kind of like McDonald's, but different. Again, this is a Bronze Age book, but Action 454. It's the hamburger eating cover. All right, Win Mortimer did do the cover on 84. You're saying, okay, cool. I think he did the first story too, if I'm not mistaken, but it could be Al Plastino. Um, yeah, the hamburger cover, right? It's just such a classic one. Um, First off, for the fact that this is how hamburgers were served back in the day. You had just like ladies coming to you and bringing the hamburgers to you, like taking your order and bringing hamburgers to you, like a fast food restaurant, right? So, like, imagine driving to a McDonald's and having somebody come to your car, take your order, and then bring the food to you. That was kind of like the burger culture of uh, maybe the late 60s, early 70s. This was more of a mid 70s book, but it's kind of like, yeah, definitely a different time. And I can only imagine what these burgers cost back in the day. They're probably just, you know, probably pay $10 for what you're eating right there, right? It was just kind of ridiculous how cheap burgers were back in the day. Even my day, I mean, McDonald's hamburgers were like, do you remember like the seven was 59 and 16? You get 59 cents for a regular burger and then 69 for if you wanted cheese, just ten cents more for the cheese. and then like the Big Macs were like $99. You know, you ever so often you get the 99-cent Big Mac, or but they were generally like around $1.50 for a Big Mac, right? So it was just like, yeah, yeah, we're just living in a inflationary times. But those days are gone. The value meal for under $5 kind of days are gone, I guess. Um, Here's another one. I've mentioned this previously as well. We love Super Baby. We picked up Super Baby 133. Super Baby kind of showing how adorable is that? It's got a little teddy bear, a little super kerchief. It's like not really a cape. It's more like a handkerchief, and he's giving these kiddos a ride in the playpen. That's awesome. Man, this one, I don't remember what I paid for this, but it was around like, I want to say it was like $2, $3 as well. Um, Really beat up copy, but um, it presents really beautifully. We got rips, kind of like, I think the covers may be detached. Staples are definitely, I think, detached, so I think it's detached. We got a lot of, we got part of the spine here is um, chunks are missing at the spine. Got creases here and there. Got a nice little date stamp. Uh, October 30th, mid-century. That's absolutely correct on a 10-cent cover. We've got Action Comics 259 again. Superman having to make a choice. Is it Lana or Lois? And look at Lex there. You know, Lex is just this like, he and Superman are peers. You know, they're the same age, but I mean, Lex just looks like been having too many hamburgers or something. He's just bald and borderline obese, I guess, diabetic maybe. Oh, here's another one, and what I love about this is okay, we're moving into the the kind of the prime period for Superboy, the Silver Age Superboy, and Superboy is kind of like a older teenager here. You know, he's not the little like middle schooler anymore. He's kind of entering adulthood here, and so is Lana, I guess. And this is just it gets homaged by Brian Bolland in an Animal Man cover, uh, but this is just oh man, I just love this book. I just love this book. It's the Wolf Boy of Smallville, and it's you got Clark or Superboy running the wolves, and you got this cop here going, Lana, it's true. Superboy has abandoned the human race to become king of a wolf pack. Oh, and the wolves there. Look at that. Yes. This is Kurt Swan, and it's Kurt Swan. Goodness, it's good old Kurt Swan there. Superboy. And speaking of Kurt Swan, oh my gosh. First off, this is a beautifully conditioned book. I mean, first off, the staples are popped, and I believe the cover is detached. But all things being equal, I'm just going to show you the back. Very clean back, no creasing, and the front. So I'm going to show you the staples you see are popped. You can see the kind of the ridges kind of sticking out there. But look at that spine. It's just like absolutely clean. Corners are sharp. No creasing. The color's vivid. It's a high grade book with a detached cover. I mean, that's just the only way to say it. It's like a high grade book, you know. If the cover was attached, this is a VF copy for this age, right? Early Silver Age. Um, or sorry, yeah, kind of early-ish Silver Age, maybe kind of the earlier part of the Silver Age. But just an absolute beautiful cover by Kurt Swan. And man, just everything is just incredible. You got Lois in this, like, you know, the fashionista she is of the 50s. You just got her in this, like, like ruffled, pleated dress. And then you've got her in this, like, you know, obviously some kind of science fiction 50ish mid-century science fiction device here, like a backpack detector there. Just really complimenting her outfit there, the red backpack and her orange dress. And then you got Lana looking good, but just plain Jane green dress there. Um, but yeah, she's going, man, jealousy meter's going off. Superman hates jealous women. Classy dresser indeed. She's just the classy. Like, she got the color matching clutch bag as well. The little beret on her, pearl earrings, white gloves. I mean, that is just style right there. And Kurt Swan brilliantly captures it all. Um, yeah, just beautiful. Absolutely love this piece. Love this book. And again, just a beautiful condition. Um, Apart from the detached cover, this is a high grade book. And so I think, you know, in a case like this, if you were to get this graded, it would not be necessarily a low grade book. I think that can get as high as a 6.0 on a detached cover if everything else is, if all things are equal. And I honestly believe, even with a detached cover here, this would probably fall in the mid grade, like 5.0 category. This wouldn't even need a press. I mean, it's just, I think it has been pressed, but it just looks absolutely beautiful. Like the color and everything of this book just absolutely pops. So love getting that. And then I paid I paid like I think I ended up paying like uh something like $7 for this book. 7, $8 for this book. Don't mind doing that. This was one of the first pickups of the summer, and I was happy with this pickup actually, because even though it's got, you know it's got its issues condition wise. It's got creases. It's got a little chunk missing out of the corner here. All in all, it's a pretty nice condition book. I did trade for this, so I didn't get a lot of. It was priced at a specific. Uh, it was priced at a specific price, and um, you know, I had to basically pay the trade value for this. This was priced at $8. And to be honest, like, I ran into this book multiple times during the summer, all in better condition, and all for around the same price, like around $6, $7 for Great stuff. Now this is a low grade book because again it's missing a chunk. It's got creasing here, but all in all, it does present really well. And $8 for this condition is a little bit pricey. It's overpriced, I would say. But man, this is such a classic Neil Adams cover on Superboy. It's Superboy. What is this? Superboy 146, and it's the Crypto staying by Superboy's side cover there. Um, Gotta love just the little mannerisms that Superboy draws into the character right there. The head tilted up, the tail obviously kind of curled like it's, hey, I'm here for you, kind of, all those little sensibilities in the drawing. And you can see Superboy's body language also communicating, so much emotion in this book. And man, is that a great. And again, I've been mentioning, all these relationships are why these characters mean so much to us. Um, you know, and they're real relationships, it's kind of like your first love, these like little love triangles you might have between somebody who was part of their past versus somebody who's part of your present. Um, and then, loyal, a loyal dog there, just being your a boy's best friend, man's best friend. All those things are just like really cool to um, see play out in this over the history of this title. So all these things. If you're a Superman collector, you understand. If you're maybe wanting to give Superman um, more of a chance because of what you're reading today or the movies you're seeing, maybe you're getting into the character the first time. Man, welcome, because you're just gonna have such an enjoyable time um, getting to know the story and these characters. And there's such a rich history. There's a lot to obviously. I mean, he's already iconic, right? You already know about Superman. There's not much to introduce. Stories like so well known. Even your more casual, like comic book fans are going to know the story of Superman, right? But when you start to kind of more dive deeper into these stories and um, I guess some of the DC stuff now, it's there's some good stuff happening, and so that's always cool to see when subsequent generations have interest and show interest and keep the keep the legacy going. All right, so we got two last books to show off, and one is actually a book that we recently picked up. So it's a recent pickup, and I recently um, had some extra money come in because of work-related bonuses, and not that I'm like spending a crazy lot, but I should have a little bit of license to uh, pick up some books. And right now, Grit City Grit City Comic Show is coming up on November, I want to say 18th or 15th. It's a Saturday. And it shows in Tacoma. I believe it's like $10 or $15 for entry. And then, I was there with uh, Namin Hyung, aka Comic Book Worm. I was there with him, I want to say 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, 3 or 2 years ago. And we had a blast there. And I picked up a lot of books in that hall for like $50. We picked up like almost 50 books for $50. Just kind of insane how many books we picked up. And I may just do that again this again in a couple weeks. So uh, I kind of mentioned it to my wife, and she's like, "Yeah, that date should work." But we hadn't really discussed the budget of what I could take and what I could spend there. So we'll see. Again, $50 with a $10 entry. We're talking about $60 for the show. That would be more than enough um, because we just don't have the space, and I don't want to really bring back a lot. But if I could get that budget up to like $75, I think we could pick up a lot of cool books. And it's not really about volume at that show, but we're just going to pick up whatever is available, whether it's a dollar bin, quarter bin, just if we think it's a good value. Um, Obviously, the bigger books, if we can spend it on a bigger book that we're looking for, that would work too. Um, but we're just going with somewhere like 50 to $75 and seeing what we could pick up. So that may be in our future, may not. But either way, I had a little bit of license to pick up some books and spend a little bit of it on a book we found at Half Price Books. So I'm going to show that off as our last book. But before we get to the last book, this is a book. We actually picked this up for $1. This was in the dollar bins, or maybe it was $2. It was like $2. Um, but it was over at All American Comics. And again, we love All American Comics. A lot of the stuff you've seen here, like this book here, is from All American. And we always get, it's an environment where you can go in. He has books priced, but he's priced them because he expects you to haggle, right? He's kind of begging you to haggle with him. Um, and he always starts off with, what do you think the book is worth? Like, that's a great way to like just start a negotiation, right? And then when you tell him, he'll always come up a little bit. And again, you kind of have to stand firm and give your reasons for why you think you should get the price. And again, he normally does kind of budge and meets you halfway. Um, but when it's negotiated in that way, you're always coming away from it happy. And so, yeah, I just want to give John his due, um, or Jason. Yeah, Jason his due. Jason is a great business owner. Another example of somebody making you feel welcome, chatting you up. Great guy, and really, again, he prices things out according to their book value. But if you know, negotiate with him and haggle with him, he tends to give you the book at a fair price, and that's all. And I think that's all his goal is, to be like, look, you know, there's a range on what these books can command. You kind of establish what you're willing to pay for it, and if he doesn't agree with what you're asking, he'll just say, no, sorry, I'm not going to sell it to you. And again, that's a kind of a hard way to walk away from. Generally, he'll meet you. He'll just kind of like push and like, hey man, that's a little too low. I can do this, and once he sets that, that bar. It's either you can accept it or not. And in all likelihood, if you name your price, he's just going to kind of set it a little bit above that, and you guys should be good. So, but this was $2, and it's got issues and all that, but we don't care. A beautiful, it's a beautiful book, and this is a a cover by uh, it's a cover by man. I'm just having such a poor time with names today. Um, keep wanting to say Gil Kane, but it's not Gil Kane. It's oh man, it's gonna bug me. All right, Ron, you're gonna have to help me out here. Yeah, every boy does need a dog. Next year's Comic Con. Which Comic Con are you going to, Ron? Where are you from? All right, so this is Superboy 192. And the name of the artist is just escaping me right now. Nick Cardy. All right, this is Nick Cardy cover. Oklahoma City. All right. Well, hope I'm sure Oklahoma City has a pretty good comic book convention. Is it the Oklahoma City Comic Book Convention? What's it called? I'm sure it's really good though. Like I would imagine Oklahoma City has a, a very strong collecting, like toy and collectible type community. GalaxyCon. Ah, that's a good name for a con. GalaxyCon. Hopefully, I get to go to GalaxyCon one of these days. That sounds like fun. All right, so yeah, we've got. I forgot the name again. I just said it. We got a Nick Cardy cover. This is a Nick Cardy cover. Super Baby on Superboy 192. Beautiful Nick Cardy cover. The bear being released from his trap. It's just hilarious. Come on. Yeah, you got probably 3-year-old, right? 3-year-old Super Baby. Probably can talk and understands what's going on, but Super Baby, hey, there's a reason, right? Again, I haven't read the book. I can only imagine what the story is like, but I'm sure it's some kind of humanitarian need to. It's empathy for a suffering animal that has Super Baby releasing the rabid bear on the community. All right. Um, we are to our last book, and this is not a pickup from the summer. Again, like I said, it's a recent pickup. Um, the only reason I picked it up was because it was there, and I was not going to leave it there. And again, I have some license because of some extra money that came in, so my wife isn't caring all that much that I picked up a $5 book from Half Price Books. Um, but yeah, I picked up this book and a couple other books from Half Price Books. So not just this one, but this was $5. And it's yeah, it's just a really cool book. It's just a really cool book. So what we have here is um, Superman Action Comics 687. And it's a key book because it's the issue where Superman returns. It's now I'm not one to be like I don't want to put any kind of like religious connotation to Superman. Okay, I'm not the one to be like to argue, hey, Superman's just a allegory for Christ or anything like that. But there are those who would make that connection. And there are a lot of those connections. There's sort of definitely a like a Christian element to the character, right? You've got a father who sends his only son to Earth as uh, someone to save planet Earth, be an example of righteousness, justice, all these things, right? There's a strong parallel there. Now, I don't mind it, but I'm not going to be one to like fan the flames. Oh, this is like the story of Christ. You know, this is not just a comic book. It's the story. It's like it's you know uh, you know again a a Christian allegory. I don't want to kind of push that narrative, but you can see the parallels, right? And during the death of Superman, right? Uh, you have Superman dying and coming back to life. Now, that's also a very strong parallel to that story. And yeah, wow, Val Kilmer came to there. Yeah, Lou Ferrigno came up here as well. It was like $50 to get his signature and meet him. And I was like kind of like, oh, should I go? Because I just feel like how many opportunities am I going to have to meet some of these like childhood stars from when I was a kid, right? Lou Ferrigno was the Incredible Hulk. I watched that show. It was like one of my favorite shows. I mean, it was the same kind of premise. You know, you had Bruce Banner kind of get into a situation where he's like new to the town or something, and like he gets bullied or beaten on, and he turns into the Hulk and beats all the bad guys, right? So it's just, and then you have what's the investigator's name? Oh, what's his name? Anyway, he's like, you wouldn't like it when I get angry, right? And he's always following him around, and but anyway, right? William Shatner. There's another guy like he came here to SummerCon. Another guy I would have loved to meet, but that was like what 40, like 20 some bucks to for the day ticket, along with $100 to meet or get a signature, right? So that's like 120 bucks just to hang out with him and get a signature. That's a little steep, even though he's, you know, obviously legendary actor. Star Trek's another, you know, franchise just love. But yeah, some of these like, I just wish they made it more accessible and affordable. Because I don't mind standing in line, right? The line part is not the issue. For me, it's like paying $100 just to get a signature or a photo with somebody is just too much. So we passed on that. Hope they do come, man. Those are two guys that would be very cool to meet. Hopefully they don't, you know, hopefully the prices are reasonable to get a signature or photo with them, but that would be cool though. Again, not to say like $100 is, you know, and I think it is falls within the realm of reason. It's just a little bit out of my budget. I know a lot of people who would just kind of throw that out money out just to meet Shatner or get a photo with him. But yeah, just a little bit out of my budget. Although that would be cool. But anyway, we're getting back to this book. This is 687. It's the issue where Superman is resurrected, and again, they utilize Kryptonian technology to regenerate, um, resuscitate, I should say, resuscitate uh, his cells, and they combine again like technology and like solar radiation or solar energy, and they use it to heal his body, kind of like what you saw in the movie this year. I mean, he's badly beaten up. He's kind of on his last breath, and then they just give him this dose of sun, and he just absolutely kind of regenerates. Same premise, right? Uh, they take his dead body, and then they put him in this like kind of like regeneration chamber, solar chamber, where he's just being, you know, brought back to life. His cells are really kind of just rejuvenated, and he ends up coming back. And that's this issue. But what's special about this issue is I have this issue in my collection already, but we picked up one of 10,000 limited series signed and numbered by Jackson Geiss. Jackson Butch Geiss. And this is a Dynamic Forces numbered 7960 of 10,000. There we go. And Jackson Geiss passed away earlier this year. And he didn't get to see the new Superman. In fact, he was dealing with health issues. So we lost him. Uh, we lost him to, I believe it was cancer. And we lost him too soon. But I was just explaining, the nostalgia of my era of collecting. Man, the death and reign of Superman era, which Jackson Geiss was a big part of, was the event of this mid 90s period. I don't even want to say, this was 93, right? It was a big event of 93. And I was in college at this time. And this is when the Death of Superman books were going for like, $50 a book. This was back in the 90s prices, right? Nothing was like that expensive. Um, and just people were hoarding the books and all that. They were coming in these like poly bagged with the black armbands and all that stuff. Um, just a huge event. And it drew so many people in to read the title around this period, me being one of them. And then it carried over into these like mysterious Supermen that were showing up post death. Like, who are these guys? Who's the real Superman? Like, you kind of like, it was like presenting, and everybody thought like, yeah, hey man, the cyborg Superman, is that Superman? Did he come back as the cyborg? Did they? And it was just, and the way the writers were teasing it and all that, because it was a big part of the narrative. The fact that you had like Wizard magazine, you had interviews and access to people who were creating it as this story was coming out. Dan Jurgens being at the head of this, right? This arc. But you had people just like kind of teasing that um, one of these guys might be Superman, and who's the real Superman kind of thing. And it was just, or who would take the mantle of as Superman. That was the big thing. Like, Superman's is gone now. Which of these four is going to kind of rise to the top and take the mantle of Superman? And that was a big kind of mystery. But um, yeah, when I saw this book at Half Price Books, $5, absolute flawless copy here. Again, 1 of 10,000. And look at the back cover here, right? You got You got some of the characters here. The Reign of Superman is such a monumental book of the period. And the fact that I have this one here, signed and numbered during the release of the book. This is just a special. This just feels good to have in the collection. Again, Jackson Geis signed and numbered copy. Action Comics 687. You got a bonus poster in here. All the good stuff. All the good '90s stuff. You got the die cut cover. There's an inner portion here. I forget who's on the inner part of this cover. I believe it's um, the Eradicator on here, and got the COA and everything. That is cool. So there you go. Neil Adams died in 2022. Yes, he also passed away from sepsis, so complication. I think he was hospitalized and then died of like an infection in the hospital and all that. So it's just, yeah, these he was in great health too. That's the crazy thing. He was like in great health. He was still doing cons, and then um, post COVID, he goes in the hospital for something, and then just ends up dying there. So there's just these. You have a lot of these stories of artists passing before. Not to say Neil Adams went before his time, but he definitely was like, even though he was 80, I think he could have. Um, he wasn't in really poor health or condition, right? But you know, we have a lot of people passing in the industry, and that's one thing I think I brought this up last time, and I think it's something that needs to be addressed by the comic book industry. Uh, is that a lot of these artists, they're part of a company, but they're also kind of work on these like loose contracts, kind of freelance style, uh, pay per page, pay per, you know, uh, per artwork or whatever, however you want to frame these. They're more like commissioned artists than they are like salaried workers. And for whatever the reason, like you had people like Peter David, people like, Jackson Geis, falling ill, first off, from whatever the lifestyle, however. I mean, you got a lot of people who just draw comics, right? They're obviously stressing out about something and not taking care of their health and whatever. I mean, we talked to Philip Tan here on this channel, and Philip Tan was like, dude, I just draw and smoke cigarettes. Like, if that's all you're doing, like, it's like, that's gonna not lead to good health outcomes. Um, but irregardless, I think DC Marvel, you not only need to pay your artists and profit share with your artists, but you need to give them basic health care. And I'm talking like top tier health care, so that when they run into these health issues or they're getting their routine checkups, you're finding things earlier rather than late stage cancer and all these things. So, um, Jim Lee, I hope you're listening to me. People at Marvel are listening to me. But get your artists on healthcare plans and quit nickel and diming them so that you guys can make a profit off these stories and books, um, because what we're doing to these legendary creators and how they're passing away and how they're struggling, a lot of them are passing away from health related issues. They're being diagnosed with, terminal stage illnesses. It's shameful. So let's improve things for the community. And yeah, also I just want to tell all the artists and people working hard on the con circuit, working those long hours, meeting fans, signing books. We love you and appreciate you for that. Um, you know, this comic book community, this family, it's I think only we understand each other, right? Uh, and so it's just when I talk about these creators and these stories, and again, if we share that passion for that, there's a bond there, just an unspoken bond. I don't have to meet you, I don't have to know you, but if you love this story for the exact same reasons I love the story, there's a connection and bond there. So thanks, Ron. Thanks for bringing up Neil. Yeah, absolutely. Um, I gave up on reading the modern age Superman comics with those triangle because I'm missing lots of them. It was hard to keep up with because there were like what 6 titles or something like that. They were running the story across, and they were numbered through these again like annual sequential numbers. It just made no sense, but they're just like, look, you got to read this one, then this one, then this one, and this one. It's just like they were never in any kind of sequential order. You just had to follow the year and the triangle number. So yeah, I don't know anybody who went out and just bought every Superman title, uh, but definitely you wanted to follow the ones that where it was cooking, right? You were like cooking with the ones that were obviously when the fight started uh, between Doomsday and Superman. That was intense. You kind of wanted to collect all those, and then of course the Reign of Superman stuff, all this die cut cover stuff. That was hot. You know, the main titles were hot, so all the tertiary stuff, like um, sort of adding more context to the story with the non-related title stuff was not as important, but all part of that cool arc there. But yeah, all the more reason it is easier for me to just collect covers that I like. That's right. That's right. It's not always about trying to keep up with the story. Because I really enjoyed Age of Apocalypse when it came out. I just enjoyed it so much when it came out. And mind you, I was in college when I was reading Age of Apocalypse. It was a great story. Um, but at its premise, all it was presenting was an alternate timeline. So just presenting an alternate timeline where Professor X had died, hence Magneto became good and kind of was like keeping this unkept promise to him, to the memory of Charles, that he would be good and lead the X-Men, right? So Magneto suddenly just takes over as the figurehead of the mutants, right? And because Professor X is gone, you know, uh, the mutants, for whatever reasons, could not stop Apocalypse, who, basically culls humans and culls most of the mutants, and there's just this mutant resistance now that stands between him and absolute hell on earth. And good premise to start with. Again, they present some of the coolest characters. They got Wolverine with a missing hand and all this. But then I actually went back and read some of the books. And again, they had these like parallel storylines that kept it, kept you interested because you're trying to keep up with all the characters, and there's a lot there. But when you go back and read it, you're just kind of like, man. And then the way they kind of end it with the battle between Magneto and Apocalypse, it, yeah, it's when I reread it, it was not as good. And it's kind of one of those things like I think when you're reading it in the moment, it was kind of like, whoa, you kind of were, it was building up to it. So you're reading them with these like lapses in time until the next issue. So you're reading it and going like, oh man, I can't wait for the next issue. And then you'd read the next issue and you just be kind of like blown away by it. But then when you go back and like, the story now and you go back and read it and you just realize, wow, it, it's not as good as I remember. And in fact, a lot of the kind of the dialogue and the story in that in all the in all the storylines were just kind of like, I don't know, it just felt like little wordy, little, it just felt kind of formulaic, and not that innovative and exciting. And I think a lot of it has to do with like, again, in the moment you're experiencing and reading it and it's new, but then when you go back and read it, that kind of newness isn't there, and then you're actually kind of like reading the dialogue for what it is, and like, you know you just don't have that sense of like drama and excitement. It's just coming across as like, man, this is just bad writing and bad kind of like scenario making, and just uh, being too, you know, too derivative of an outcome. Like they wanted a certain outcome and they just kind of like presented it. And it's just like, really? That's how you're gonna end this big battle with just, Magneto tearing him apart in one kind of burst? And like just like could have done that like like 10 years ago. Like it just was and Apocalypse is way stronger than Magneto, so the fact that he'd just be like torn apart like that on a molecular level just doesn't make sense. So I don't know. A lot of issues with going back and reading stuff that you really liked as a kid or as a youth or as a younger adult to reading it today. But yeah, I think though that's the thing. That's what makes a story good versus like commercial, right? Um, and I think Superman, the reign of Superman, or I should say, the death of Superman, has an element of that. But when I go back and read the death of Superman, I feel different about it. I feel like the death of Superman's like just, it had that in the moment kind of like dramatic effect, but when you go back and read it, that entire effect is still there, because partly I think because a lot of it wasn't wordy. Like you go back and read Age of Apocalypse, it's very wordy, it's very kind of like, you know again, it's like playing on the same principles, like the, you know humanity, they're discriminating against mutants, all these like themes of like we're persecuted and all that, like okay, we get it, right? But in Superman, the themes of Superman are different. It's like, here's this guy, he's really just self-sacrificing himself for the good of humanity, right? So here he is, just fighting is giving it his all to defeat this like very powerful being, and then going mano a mano and literally, uh, putting his last breath effort into defeating this thing, and again takes his life along with the life of Doomsday to stop him. And yeah, again, a lot of it is not as dialogue driven because it's pretty much like 4 or 5 issues where they're just fighting, and you just got kind of people describing what's going on, and you kind of get little bits and pieces revealed of this mysterious creature uh, kind of getting revealed, and then not really understanding at the end of it even, where this guy came from or who he is, just like, but the fact that just Superman just stopped him, right? Um, so in that sense, it's like the story still, I think, rings true even if you read it today as a more compelling and exciting uh, read, comic from a comic book perspective. So interesting how like those two stories came out at the same time, but when I go back and read them today, again, Age of Apocalypse kind of falls short, even though it had a higher, I had a higher esteem for that story back when I was reading it versus the Superman story, which I liked it and I enjoyed, but I didn't think it was better than Age of Apocalypse when I was reading the Superman story. And part of it has to do with I didn't read the entire story through at the time Superman come out. I only read bits and pieces of that. Obviously, most of the fights, but um, and the death itself, uh, but not the stuff prior to Superman, what the Superman story was around that period. I wasn't reading any of it, and there's obviously a lot going on with Superman revealing himself to Lois, and Lois and him preparing their life together. Uh, they would later get married right after he comes back and all that. So a lot of that stuff was there that I wasn't completely attuned to, but now going back and reading it and knowing all those little pieces there in terms of the backstory uh, made it much more compelling of a read. Um, and I think a better story overall. Like if you're to just objectively read uh, as an adult or as in today's context, just read both stories. They're obviously still both great runs of comic books, but um, as opposed to an alternate timeline and an alternate set of events and characters versus a consistent timeline, and again, a death and a return of a beloved character, how that manifests. I think, all in all, the death of Superman is a much better story, more timeless than the aforementioned Age of Apocalypse. But they're both great. I would recommend, as a comic book fan, that both are read. They're both very exhaustive, sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? Like cross, you know, multi title crossovers. Um, yeah, they're voluminous. You got multiple titles kind of moving through at different paces of uh, that common thread story. I do believe the Reign of Superman is going to be a much larger and more voluminous read because of the two arcs, the death and then the Reign of Superman and then the return, right? So much longer read in that sense. Uh, But the Age of Apocalypse is also, again, multiple parallel storylines across different titles, kind of doing their own thing and then culminating into kind of like, you know, kind of like Star Wars, right? You have all these like multiple things and they all kind of intersect at the pinnacle of the arc. So, um, yeah, good stuff. Right. Yeah. Omega level mutants that were in Omega level to the 90s. Right. Yeah, a level was like you only had a few of them, and then suddenly everybody is at Omega level, right? Like, yeah, um, it's crazy. Omega level was kind of developed during that 90s run. Like, I think Legion was one of the first mentioned as Omega level. Magneto, Phoenix, right? These were and Apocalypse. Those were like the first set of Omega level. Because I don't think even Professor X was Omega. I know maybe Professor X was Omega level. Um, but yeah, you only had a few, and then you had just everybody and their mom like start to like, well, no, they're Omega level, and then you had people that were higher than Omega level now, right? You had like what's the higher than Omega level? It's that exists now, right? It's like there's actually like super powerful mutants, and it's tough to keep up with the mutant, the power hierarchy. But it's funny that kind of hierarchy exists. Okay, so Ren 224. Oh yeah, I totally want that one. The one where he's like doing all the math equations. I gotta get that book. That's a book I did run into this summer that I wasn't able to pick up, but that's on my wish list of stuff. Superman 224. Um, so yeah, it's getting late. I gotta jump off, but before I do want to mention, um, and guys, if you're watching, you know, I just want to reiterate. So right now, I am communicating with Aaron, aka Psychotronic Squirt Gun, and Christopher, aka Bronze Age Nerd, and Big B, aka Big B. I'm communicating with these three guys who are local to me. We're trying to get together to just hang out and potentially trade comic books with each other. But more importantly, just hanging out, maybe digging through back issue bins. And I've proposed to them to meet up in Olympia at a specific date. Also, if they can't make that date, for us to meet at Grid City Comic Show. Because, again, I think the comic show would be just a great way to spend time with each other, hunt for books, and then trade afterwards, right? So I'm trying to get them to commit to doing one of those things. Either we meet in Olympia at a comic book shop and trade, or we meet up at Grid City Comic Show, hunt for books together, hang out, and trade, maybe grab dinner afterwards, right? Trying to get them to commit to one of those things, but I'm in the chat kind of like, hey, when do you guys want to do this? What do you want to do? Like, kind of like proposing things, and I'm just not hearing back from any of them. I know Big B had wanted to meet up last weekend, but again, it was my anniversary. I just didn't have the bandwidth to create time, and so yeah, maybe these coming 2 weeks is not a good time for them. And I know probably, again, it is a bit of a drive to come up to Tacoma and spend $15 to maybe purchase books and stuff. Maybe they're not in the buying stage of coming to a show like that, but hopefully they respond at some point and we organize something, because the closer we get to Thanksgiving and Christmas, the more likely my weekends won't be as flexible. So, again, guys, if you're listening and watching this toward the end, hit me up on Instagram. Let's set a date and get this thing going. So, and then, yeah, Metarog, again, go support his channel, subscribe. He's trying to hit 2,000 subscribers, so get him to that number. He's doing a great giveaway. Remember, I sent you to his giveaway. Just mention me when you comment and leave the hashtag Raj to 2000. So with that being said, thanks for hanging out, guys, for this Thursday edition of Otaku Weekly. I may be on tomorrow to kind of talk shop, but should be back next Friday as well if you don't see me tomorrow. So have a great week. We'll see you in the next one. Peace out.